Trump's return to office order for federal workers will be short-lived.
I think this is pretty easy, and we're seeing it play out in real time. Just, a little sauce behind the camera. We're recording this on Monday. It was the first day that federal workers were required to be back in the office pursuant to Donald Trump's return to work order. What that means in layman's terms is that my normal 20-minute commute from Northwest DC to downtown took about an hour and 20 minutes. And we do know that what DOGE is doing, they're trying to sort of cram all of these federal workers into space which has shrunk since COVID, and they're making their lives miserable so that they will quit. Now, on the flip side of this, you've got all these injunctions by judges across the country trying to stay Donald Trump's orders, whether it's RTO or DOGE getting into Treasury. And I think this is going to be an easy one that blows up in their face. There are Republicans who work in the federal government who had telework agreements, who have taken jobs since COVID where they never had to show up in the office. They're not going to want to stay and deal with this nonsense, even if, Elon Musk is trying to run the federal government like the way he ran Twitter, make people sleep in sleeping bags on the work floor, and they'll say, hey, they up and quit their jobs. That's a win for us because the bottom line and payroll is lower than when we took office. This just seems, overbearing and punitive, and I don't think it's something that the Trump administration will want to spend the political capital on, especially when they've got all these other high-pressing issues to deal with.
Okay, I have to go with nay, but first, before I address the nay, how did you get to work today? Did you crawl? Did you bike?
It probably would have been faster. No, I took my usual route. It's about 3 turns from my house to our garage parking office.
That's what everyone said not to drive in DC because there literally aren't enough parking spaces.
Oh.
Which gets to why I'm saying nay. Nay, because there is a long-term goal at hand. Already, 65,000 federal workers agreed to take the buyout, where the deadline was February 6th, and the Trump administration said, if you give us your resignation, you will get paid for the next 8 months, and you do not need to do anything. You don't need to show up to work. You can go on vacation. It is the sabbatical that Americans dream of, right? And of course, this means that the left-wing unions are trying to fight it in court, saying it's illegal, when actually it's the best payday. It almost makes me mad as a fiscal conservative, but you know what? It's a great way of getting rid of workers that shouldn't be there.
Take that trip to Scotland you've always wanted to take.
Right? So the federal workers, yes, this has, in short, not been handled extremely efficiently because you do have these situations where people don't have enough office space. They're really scrambling to figure it out. Charles Allen, one of the city council members, said, don't drive to work because it's going to be a nightmare, and more importantly, parking. We're down 20,000 parking spots based on the demand. So they were telling everyone, take the metro. If you can't take the metro, take the bus. Which is, I took the bus instead of the metro because I actually wanted to be able to sit, and that was a good call. But the long-term strategy, we know in the private sector that remote work and hybrid work are extremely efficient choices for the private companies that can do them.
Yeah.
And so where you have close to 50% of workers working remotely, it's finance, insurance, tech support, computer systems. Higher skilled jobs where the deliverables are pretty obvious. So a worker knows, let's take a company, Airbnb, that is 100% remote. I don't even think they have a headquarters at this point. They can just fire you if you aren't delivering on your job because they can see it. Federal work is very different. And not only is it very different, and you have a lot of lower level, mid-level employees, but also it's extremely hard to fire a federal worker. You have to give a 30-day notice with a reason, and the worker has the right to appeal to an outside agency, complain to an outside agency, and if you win, you get reinstated with full back pay and benefits. Point being, if you want to have private sector cushions and private sector accommodations like hybrid, which we know increases the fertility rate. It's pretty much the only outside intervention that's done so, which we know workers will take in lieu of a raise. That's a smart thing for a private industry to choose to uphold. If you want those accommodations, then you have to play by the same rules in terms of hiring and firing. So I would imagine that after the initial resignations you get from the people that shouldn't be there, more senior employees, and especially ones who aren't team-based, and especially those that had pre-existing hybrid or remote accommodations before COVID, that there will be a pretty imminent relaxation of the return to office orders for them. But you know what, for a generation of 20-somethings that have only known working over Zoom and Teams, I'd be surprised if they want to go back to the full-time remote thing.
I agree.
Hybrid in the long run, I think, is really beneficial for especially parents, all of that, dealing with more flexibility. But assumption of being in office as a baseline, it's a good thing, and there's a reason why you don't hear DC city government complaining about it, because they just posted their highest metro ridership since 2020.
That was very useful and informative, but I want our viewers at home to take note of something. Tiana, our conservative friend on the show, listen to the DC local government about how to get to work today, while myself, our resident liberal, became ungovernable. What is the world we're living in? Donald Trump is changing everything.
I'm a lib now.